Good evening, everybody, and hello, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. We are live. It is a Wednesday night. It is just, it's days until the first test between the British and Irish Lions and the Springboks, and things really are starting to heat up after Warren Gatland announced his side to face the Springboks this weekend. A very, very interesting calls made by him. A couple of interesting calls I think made by him and by Jacques Nienaber yesterday. So it's shaping up to be a very interesting contest. I think teams that we probably or squads, or I think 23s that we probably wouldn't have really picked. I think and if we had sort of made this decision even a week ago or 2 weeks ago and stuff like that. So it's quite interesting to sort of see how this game will go in terms of a couple of big selection calls that have been made. I think for the British and Irish Lions, you're probably looking at that sort of that back three where there always can be quite a lot of debate and stuff like that. I think you're probably looking at somebody like Alun Wyn Jones where he should have been starting and stuff like that. So that's where I think it's going to be quite interesting. I'll be interested to sort of see what the tactics are for the game on Saturday is and where each sort of team tries to hurt each other. A couple of things that Warren Gatland spoke about and stuff like that. It's going to be quite interesting to sort of see exactly how the Lions go about their business. And I think that what Warren Gatland was saying, what was quite interesting, was talking about the fact that what the teams are for the sort of the first test, for example, and stuff like that, are often very different to the teams that you then see for the other two tests. By the time you sort of get to the third test, by the time injuries creep in, performances and individual areas and stuff like that, things do change. And I think that was probably his message to the players who missed out, and there's some very good players who have missed out. And I think probably the message is just, your tour is not over. You've got plenty of time. Players will make mistakes. There'll be space for you to try and move in and stuff like that. So, keep training hard and make sure that when they have the selection meeting on Sunday or Monday, they're sitting there thinking, well, listen, that player's been training really, really hard. So, we need to get him into the side somehow. So that's why I think it's going to be quite an interesting sort of weekend. And I mean, for the Springboks, probably a lesser extent of them are actually playing for their positions. Whereas at the British and Irish Lions, it's so competitive that you really can't afford not to put in a good performance this weekend, or else you will be cut. Because I think in every single position, there's a case to be made for somebody else. I think that maybe Tad Furlong's probably the most safe. I think probably in that starting 15 or in that 23. After him, maybe somebody like a Mario Toja, stuff like that. But especially in the back three, those players can't afford to have bad games. For the Springboks, I think the only players who would play themselves out of contention next week is probably the front row, and maybe sort of Kwaka Smith. And after that, it's a very tried and tested team, which I think that we will stick with next week, regardless of what happens on Saturday, unless some players really, really have a bad game. But, Rassie Erasmus and Jacques Nienaber have never been a particularly reactionary sort of approach to things. They've never really sort of seen one player have a bad game and after that say, cool, that's it, cheers, you're gone. They're known for backing a lot of their players and keeping with them for quite a while. But, let's just sort of see who's in the comments. So, good evening, FSG. How's it handling now? Are the Bulls going to play Lions or Griquas? Well, this weekend, it is the Bulls versus... the Bulls versus Lions on Sunday. So that's the fixtures this weekend, as well as I can show you exactly what they are. It is Cheetahs versus Sharks on Saturday, then Pumas versus Province on Sunday, and Bulls versus the Lions. I'm assuming you're talking about those Lions. And then Duhan and Merwe is going to backfire on the Lions. Saffers tend to struggle against the Boks. Yeah, I'm very interested to see how he goes. I think that's probably one of the sort of very brave selection, I suppose. Probably more, Anthony Watson maybe ahead of him instead of Josh Adams. But Anthony Watson is somebody that Warren Gatland trusts a lot. I mean, he played a lot in the 2017 tour. So, I don't think it's that sort of surprising. I mean, I think Warren Gatland's got quite an interesting sort of selection and mix of players who are in good form and players who he sort of relied on in the past and done jobs for him in the past. So, Alj says the Lions want to match physicality with Lawes and Duhan starting. Yeah, I think that's definitely the ploy. I mean, if you go and look at the side, this is the Lions side that we will see this weekend. So, obviously, the big call is Alun Wyn Jones starting at number 5. I think and Warren Gatland alluded to the fact that Ali Price has been playing too well not to play basically this weekend. So he's somebody who's played his way into the side, and as a result, you don't have Conor Murray starting. So. And you don't have Owen Farrell starting, for example. So, that's where Warren Gatland was saying it was crucial to have Alun Wyn Jones' experience this weekend because he's the most capped Test player of all time. He's played, in the last sort of 10 tests the Lions have played, he started. He's been part of I don't think unless he started all of them, but he's been part of the last 10 tests for the Lions. Or the last 9, sorry. So, no, it wasn't the last. Yeah, the last sort of 9. So this will be his 10th start in a row for the Lions. So I think it's a decent call. At the end of the day, whether you're convinced whether he's fit enough, whether you think that he's the best lock and stuff like that, I don't think Alun Wyn Jones is ever a liability in a side. I don't think he's not that type of player. I think he's too good, he's too classy, he's too experienced to let you down. I don't think he'll ever be a letdown of a selection. Will somebody else bring more than him? Maybe, but I don't think he's ever going to be a player who's going to go in the park and you're not going to sit there thinking, oh, he really let us down, so he didn't give us enough. He's not the type of player. I think he's too good to let a coach down. So I think that he's quite a safe pick in that regard. And I mean, questions about his fitness and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, if somebody who's played 150 international games says he's fit and he's ready for Test match rugby, nobody knows Test match rugby better than this person. Nobody, literally nobody in the world, in the history of the game, the professional era, has played as many games at this level. So he knows himself, he understands the game, and I think if he thinks he's ready and Warren Gatland back it, then obviously he's ready. It's a very, very good line side. I think Courtney Lawes was quite an interesting selection. Tad Burns been phenomenal on tour, but you can see that they're going with physicality there. Luke Cowan-Dickey also very abrasive, very good at the breakdown. Tad Furlong we know is a wrecking ball. Wyn Jones is very solid. Maury Toje, Courtney Lawes, Tom Curry, Jack Conan. That's just a lot of physicality there. I think an interesting selection not having Faletau involved in the 23. But to be able to bring on Tad Burn and Hamish Watson, that's a fantastic position to be in because it just shows you sort of the depth and the sort of the versatility of some of the players they've got. So I thought Lions would go for 6-2 split. So there's a lot of people. So there was that league team yesterday, which was not entirely accurate, but was sort of semi-accurate. And then Warren Gatland actually addressed it and said he's not quite sure how it got out there. But they'll try and make sure that it doesn't happen again. Some people reckon that it could be a leak on purpose to try and lure the Boks into a false sense of security, whatever. All those sort of game stuff like that always pop up here and stuff like that. I think that it's a pretty good team. I think that backline is absolute class. I think there's a lot of players in good form there. I think Robbie Henshaw is probably the only player with question marks with regards to form in terms of is he playing at his best rugby, But everybody else, I don't think you can really sort of. I don't. You can make cases for other people, but you can't just always sort of sit there and go. I don't think there's anybody in that team, for example, that you can say that player definitely doesn't deserve to be there and that player should be there. You can make cases for a lot of people, but I think that so many players have played well this tour that it's become a very difficult team to sort of select. I thought the Lions would go for 6-2. Barrett back 5 for the All Blacks in the World Cup. So will Lawes for the Lions. Look, I think Courtney Lawes is a good player. I think he brings a lot of physicality. I think he would have liked to have been involved a bit more. I think he struggled a little bit with a couple of niggles and stuff like that. But I think this is a good point, Budge. Obviously, the backline of the Lions is lethal. The Boks will need to be well conditioned to overcome that backline. I think fitness is going to be probably the biggest thing. At the end of the day, the Lions have to be fitter than the Boks are at the moment. When you think of the majority of the Boks have been in quarantine and not been training and playing and stuff like that, so you've got to sort of back the Lions' fitness. And I think especially the fact that they're not going to be at altitude and stuff like that. I think that they will. And Warren Gatland said that he says he reckons that they're conditioned enough that they will only get better as the game goes by. And I think it's a decent shot. I think that they have had so much time to train. They have had, weeks where they've all been together and stuff like that. They also, and this is a good point here by Hanley No. It says also they also hinted going to test Kolbe's defense. And it's so frustrating when people don't watch and understand or listen to understand, because today when I did the announcement and I talked about Alun Wyn Jones, That was the sort of the title of the video. So that's the video I'm referring to. I spoke about the fact that I reckon naming Duhan van der Merwe means that they are going to be not targeting, but the only reason I think that you go Duhan van der Merwe ahead of Josh Adams is because you believe he's got the best chance of beating Kolbe or getting past Kolbe. And I think it's right. I think that's fair. And what I said that Kolbe's defense is one of his weaker aspects of the game. I did not say that Kolbe can't tackle. I did not say Kolbe can't defend. We know that he can. But if you're looking at Kolbe's, what has he got? Electrifying pace, a ridiculously good step, he's very good under the high wall. He's got a very good boost in himself as well. If there's one place that you're going to try and sort of target him, it is his defense. And he's become a much better defender. There's no doubt about that. I didn't say he had his defense was a weakness. I didn't say he had a weak defense, but I said that if there's something you can try and target about him, it is his defense. And I think at the end of the day, we're talking about the person who's probably the best attacking player in the world right now. On form, he's probably the best attacking player in the world, which means that to say that defense is one of his weaknesses, it's all things comparative. And that's what I meant when I said that. I said that, in comparison to his attack stuff like that, you can't think that you're going to have somebody who's going to run around him, But if the line's going to sort of target out wide, I think, they've got Anthony Watson, who's also a very big physical ball carrier. They're going to target our wings. I think both our wings. I think they're going to have a go at Mpimpi as well. They're going to say to him, how fit are you? How ready are you to take us on? Can you match us? What's going to happen? So, you can't beat Kolbe with pace. So at the end of the day, and I know that Chris Harrison and that Hedwison was a bit of an anomaly, but I think, let's be honest, I think most teams would do it. If you've got a Wasaki Noholo, you're going to say, right, try and run over Kolbe. So it's not saying it's going to work, but I think that's the thinking. I think they think if there's anybody that's got a chance of getting past him, it'll be Duhan van der Merwe and his power. So I think that's probably the biggest reason for it. It's a big test for Kolbe. There's no doubt about it. Duhan van der Merwe has burst onto the international scene, and very few people have been able to stop him from scoring. He's scoring an unbelievably amount of tries. I'll try and find out his specific his try count stuff like that, but he's a devastatingly good finisher. So as much as people are surprised that he's playing in terms of maybe ahead of Josh Adams, but if we look at his international, he played one sort of in the Autumn Nations Cup, he played 3 games and he scored 2 tries. In the Six Nations, he played 5 games and scored 5 tries. For the British and Irish Lions, he's played 4 games and he's scored 5 tries. He scores tries for fun, so he's definitely a threat. So I think that's why they've gone with it. And I think that Kolbe's good enough to be able to really relish the challenge and really be able to be up for it and take him on. I don't think that's an issue. But I think that there is a certain amount of we've got to try and go after him. Because at the end of the day, you're not getting past Damien Lendi. You're not getting past Andre Pollard. You're not getting past Lukanya. If you're looking at those 2 defenders, you've got to be thinking, well, the only way we can... And you also, look at the tackling in the pack. So I can understand the logic of thinking we're going to have a go at Mpimpi and Kolbe, because that is, the only sort of weakness we can maybe see. Cheslin saying, hey guys, I don't know what you guys think about Conan doesn't give me that robust number 8 feel, which maybe you can get from Curry in that position. But yeah, I just don't think that I don't think that now is the time to experiment and put Curry at 8 for the first time in a Lions jersey this tour for the first Test match. I think that Jack Cody's been doing very well. I think he's performed pretty well. We were saying last night that I reckon he's a bit of an outside shout to actually start ahead of Faletau. But you've got the options of bringing both Hamish Watson and Taylor Byrne off the bench. So I think that it's a really nice position. The fact of the matter, let's be honest, I think Hamish Watson and Tom Curry are pretty interchangeable in terms of the quality that they bring. So it's such a like for like in terms of the quality. Whoever comes on, whoever's on at the time. If Hamish Watson is replacing Tom Curry in 50 minutes, there's no drop off. There's no drop off, vice versa. So I think that it's a little bit like Stuart Hogg, where they're saying it's literally a flip of the coin as to who and why you would go with someone. Sean Farrell says, I remember that Gatland did to Brian O'Driscoll in 2013. Then he messed up Peter Mahoney in 2017. He was named captain, then was taken away. Yeah, it's an interesting point. I think I don't think that'll be much of an issue here with Conor Murray and stuff like that. I think Alun Wyn Jones is just one of those players who's got so much respect. I think if you're Conor Murray and you're thinking, oh, I've lost the captaincy, you're probably also thinking, well, I lost the captaincy to one of the greatest Test match captains of all time. So I can kind of get over it. It's not quite the fact that it was, I don't know, maybe I lost the Test captaincy because even like if a Stuart Hogg came back or if a Owen Farrell came back, you'd be thinking, come on, guys. But I mean, Alun Wyn Jones is Alun Wyn Jones. Alde Yusuf said, I think that's why coaching staff opted for Kwaka as Tavisa. I trust our loose trio for the cover defense, even with Watson coming on Kwaka Smith. Alstead is I think Alstead's probably the biggest question mark for me as well. Just I've never really been that sort of blown away by him in a Boks jersey just yet. Kolbe will be tested against Duhan. It's going to be a very, very good battle. I think that's one of the biggest battles of the test. They picked Lawes and 6 to target Springbok lineouts. I think lineouts. I mean, if you look at the lineouts, you've obviously got Courtney Lawes, Alun Wyn Jones, and Mario Toje. But Tom Curry can also, they've used him as a jumper, and they've also used Jack Conan as a jumper. So, they've got 5 options at lineout time. So I think lineouts will be very, very important. And I think that, we've been struggling with our lineouts with the Springboks, and I think that's probably why we've gone with Bongi and Minambi starting, because you just know that he's our best set piece hooker. He's very good at scrum time, and he's very good with his lineout throwing. Better than Malcolm Marx. Malcolm Marx obviously brings a lot more to the game in other aspects. Brent Hart says, I'm a huge Pimpy fan, but surely he'll be targeted more than Kolbe because they think he is rusty. They are playing mind games. Well, I think, look, let's look at it. You've gone with Duhan van der Merwe, who is 193 at 105 kgs, and on the other wing, you've gone with Anthony Watson, who is 188 and 93 kgs. Anthony Watson is not a small lad at all. In comparison, Josh Adams is sitting at 1.83. He's also quite stocky, but he's not as physical as Anthony Watson is. So I think that they're going to target both wings, especially because something like Pimpy hasn't played a lot of rugby. And rugby has proven that if you dislocate your shoulder and you come back within a short timeline, you're bound to dislocate it again. So Alun Wyn Jones is making an unnecessary big gamble. Yeah, well, I think they were saying that his age, counted on his side for a change, because they reckon they took a couple of shortcuts and stuff like that, which they wouldn't be able to do with the younger people, because it sort of could compromise them later on their stages. So we'll have to wait and see how the shoulder holds up. I mean, he's just a freak of nature. He just plays and is so consistent all the time. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Where Liam Williams would be the best to counter our kicking game. Is the best in the world under the high ball. Yeah. I mean, even Warren Gatlin was saying it was a toss of the coin, a roll of the dice, really, as to Stuart Hogg or Liam Williams. I mean, what a nice position to be in. Do I go with Liam Williams or do I go with Stuart Hogg? I mean, living. It's unbelievable. Liam Williams is class. He's class under the high ball. Stuart Hogg. I think Stuart Hogg is such a good occasion player. I think that. If it's just why we don't have crowds. So I think he's one of those players who, the bigger the game gets, the more atmosphere is added. He kind of just sort of lifts his game. It's also his third tour and first test start. He's been really, really unlucky. So I think that they've been waiting to try and give Stuart Hogg this chance and say, go on and do something special. And look, I think he's one of those players. I think Liam Williams is a safer bet than Stuart Hogg, but I think that Stuart Hogg is an unbelievable good player, very good leader. Very experienced. He'll be marshalling those back three. He's been very influential, and he's just a very calm presence. Not that Liam Williams is, but look, to be able to bring Liam Williams off the bench is a fantastic position to be in. You think Van der Merwe could play centre? Well, he's got all the attributes, doesn't he? He's got the pace, he's got the power. You could see him at like outside centre, for example. Defensively, he's got a couple of question marks. Maybe not so much there, but I suppose you could use him as a crash ball inside. But I think that he's so effective on the wings, and Scotland are so good at getting him out there on the wings. I mean, Scotland plays such a nice brand of rugby under Gregor Townsend. So I think that I'm probably just leave him there. I mean, Chris Harris is a quality operator in the Scottish midfield, so he probably could play there, but it's just that'd probably be unnecessary. Boks won't struggle in defence. We have a head coach that's also the defence coach. Kolbe won't be left on his own to defend against Van der Merwe. I'm sure he won't outrun Kolbe either. No, 100%. And I think that is, and somebody said it earlier, that is why somebody like Kwaka Smith is so important for this weekend. His pace. And it was quite interesting. I don't know if anybody follows Rugby on on Twitter, but he was talking about the fact he was actually doing a whole breakdown of Kwaka Smith and the fact he's actually only ever lost on one start. But he was just talking about how important it is, if you don't have Duhan Vermeulen. The problem is that Duhan Vermeulen's a bit of a freak of nature because he's big, he's quick, he's very good under the high ball, he's very good over the ball. He's got everything in his game. Now you're going to compromise. We don't have a like for like replacement. Jasper Wiese might be like for like in terms of his size, physicality, and ball carrying skills, but he's not the same as over the ball. So with Kwaka Smith, you've got a breakdown menace. So I mean he wins a lot of turnovers, but he hits a lot of rucks. He's just a nuisance at the ruck time, and his pace, he's everywhere. He really is everywhere. He's a workhorse of note. I mean, he'll always sort of be in the top tacklers of the team and stuff like that. He's always up there. So I think especially if you're going to have Duhan van der Merwe and Anthony Watson, they're going to try and go through the wing stuff like that. Having a really pacey number 8 who can get around the park quite a lot, I think is going to be a big asset. Because they were talking about the throwback to Warren Whiteley when we won in Wellington. And how he made that crucial tackle on Perenara. I mean, he literally and that was. It actually had so much nostalgia, a twinge of sadness of how Warren Whiteley was robbed of what could have been such a good Springbok career, and I think it's so sad that we've got such a size issue because even somebody like him, and I mean Warren Whiteley stands at he's about my height, but I think he's a bit taller than me. He was 193, he's 110 kgs, and was told he was too small. I mean, it's bizarre. It's just so strange in terms of the rugby thing, but. It's if you don't have Duhan Vermeulen, I think having a pacey number 8 who's very mobile, gets around the park, very defensively, very secure. There's sort of always sort of offsets and stuff like that, and places where you can gain an advantage. At the end of the day, Kwaka Smith will get around the park more than Duhan Vermeulen can. So maybe that's what he brings this weekend. Duhan versus Kolbe is going to be an interesting. I think it's going to be the best battle of the day. I think Kolbe will be targeted on the ground and Mapimpi in the air. Yeah, I mean, Mapimpi had to shape up a lot with his aerial work, and that was where I was quite impressed with him because I think I wouldn't say I had doubts about Mapimpi, but I always Mapimpi started like the normal South African wing start, where he was a devastating finisher. Raw pace, don't give him an inch. Defense was always a little bit of a question mark under the high ball. The difference with Mapimpi and a lot of centers in the past is he's managed to add those to his game. He's managed to improve his defense. He's managed to improve his aerial ability. But just like I said, where Kolbe, if there's going to be one sort of chink in the armor, you might try and target him defensively. I think this is a very good point by Brent over here, where I think, you do probably sort of try and target Mapimpi in the air. And especially you've got Anthony Watson and Duhan van der Merwe, for example, challenging for those. They're very busy, very physical, and they'll give him a hard time in the air. Kolbe is one of the best defenders on wing. Look, he's probably a lot better than Mapimpi is. I thought Springbok was looking pretty good as well. I mean, you got to feel for Springbok, don't you? I mean, did nothing wrong to get dropped from the side, but there's just too much quality. And if Kolbe doesn't defend well, there's going to always be someone that will have to cover. Am and Delendo are both very good in defense. That leave gaps in the middle. Yeah, it's as I said, it's going to be quite interesting to see what they do. I mean, how much and do we sometimes are we going to? The biggest sort of trap for us, I suppose, is worrying so much about, what's going on out wide that there are those gaps in the middle. So we know that Springboks are fantastic defensively. We are a defensive side. That is how we play rugby. That is how we won the World Cup. It wasn't with, beautiful running rugby. It was proper, grueling defense. So we're going to have to defend like demons this weekend. There's no doubt about that. If I'm sitting on Saturday doing a review saying, and the Springboks have won the first test, I can guarantee I'm going to be talking about monumental defense. We saw it in the SAA game. We're not going to be talking about, and Andre Pollard was putting in little chip kicks and grabbers in behind. The Kanya was out the back door passes. We saw Kwaka Smith doing loops around Peter Steph du Toit. It was just gorgeous to watch. The pops on the ground were fantastic. We're not going to be having that conversation. We're going to say that these guys fronted up for 80 minutes and refused to give away anything. That's how we play rugby. Brent says, I have not seen Kolbe have a bad defensive day, and Corsi on the other hand. Kolbe's had his struggles over the years. He's definitely, it's definitely been something which I think they told him. I think, you could be a Springbok, you will be a Springbok, but we need to make sure we can rely on you defensively. And he's had his struggles in the past, defensively. I think it was like 2016 where he like missed, I think it was like 30% of his tackles almost. At that sort of that size, he's had to really sort of work on his game. So I don't think there's an issue there. But I'm just saying, I think if there's one sort of thing that you can try and exploit, it will have to be there, because you're not going to try and exploit. You're not going to try and say we don't have to worry about him on the attack. Van der Merwe has been very good in the last year. He's been tremendous. He really has. I mean, it's. I'll try and see if I can find his complete Test career or his international career, I suppose. I mean, he's 26 years old, so he's coming into his prime. But I mean, over here, it's got 10 caps for Scotland and 8 tries. He's got four games for British National Line, and he's got 5 tries. So I mean, he's been unbelievably good form. I mean, he was scoring tries for fun for Edinburgh. So he's going to be. It's going to be an interesting game. Where are we? I remember when Rico Ioane pushed Kolbe away to score that try in 2018 game against the All Blacks. So yeah, I mean we've seen it before. There's no, put it this way, Cheslin Kolbe is going to miss tackles before, he'll miss tackles again. Everybody will miss tackles before, miss tackles again. Remember P. Steph Toy when he first moved to number 7, and defensively he was almost a little bit of a reliability, and yet the year later he won the player of the year. So he's got the pedigree to do it. But he has also been exposed in the past. You can't shy away from it at the end of the day. We back him. I 100% back him. But we can't just live in an imaginary world where we know that there isn't that chance that he might sort of slip a tackle here or two. Have Lawes played a Test level flank? Yeah, he had. I'm pretty sure he's played against the Springboks at flank. I'll try and find out here. I've seen him at flank before. I definitely played for England at flank. I'm trying to think of it. I'm pretty sure. I thought he played against us at flank as well. I'm trying to see here if I could find a game. There we go. Six Nations 2020. Courtney Lawes, England face team. Where we? Yeah, so I mean, this is a game last year with England playing against Ireland, and Courtney Lawes on the flank. He has operated flank a couple of times. He's very adept with the flank. There's no issues there. I'm just trying to think of who the England Lucia was in the World Cup final, and where he was there. World Cup final, what are we? 2019 rugby. Yeah, he was a number 5 for the World Cup final, because of course there was Underhill as well and stuff like that. Where are we? I've now lost exactly where the comments are, so I'm going to pick up from Sean O'Farrell over here. He says, the question is, will Alun Wyn Jones lost the game? Well, see, Conan is a big call. Agreed. Duhan and Centre will be too one-dimensional. He'll be Lama P 2.0 crash ball man. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes it can work, eh? You don't always have to have a particularly enterprising inside centre. Sometimes, I mean, Bundy Aki is not exactly this incredibly, fluent and creative player, but he's effective when he needs to be. Pollard will rain down kicks on Van der Merwe all day. Yeah, probably. Let's hope Trevor can hit his form back from the last World Cup before one of his best scrummers. That's what I was talking about last night. It's difficult to sort of judge. And I mean, somebody said it quite right where they were saying, scrummaging is a bit like goal kicking. Sometimes it's your day, sometimes it isn't. So I think that was probably a bad day for Trevor last week. I think it's now a case of what was I talking about? Where am I? Trevor. Oh, yeah, it's not a case of setting it right this weekend. He's got the pedigree. We've seen it before many times. Trevor is a very, very good prop. So we've seen it before. Kwaka's yet to use a game if we don't count the Washington Test against. Yeah, that's the only game he has lost. So I don't have an issue with Kwaka Smith at all. In fact, I'm quite excited by it. I think he's quite an exciting pick. Do you think they were trying to match our bench? Look at their bench they named. No, I think that the bench they named is a lot of players they wanted to start but haven't been good enough. Look, apart from I think Owen Farrell probably would have started, but he hasn't played well enough to warrant it. I think Conor Murray's probably would have started, but he hasn't played well enough to warrant it. I think Ken Owens probably would have started, but Luke Cowan-Dickey's been too good. I think Roy Sutherland maybe was in contention, And I think Tad Byrne might feel a little bit sort of hard done by, but they've gone with the physicality of Lawes. And I think Watson, with him and Carey, it's a flip of the coin. So I think that they've got a lot of quality coming off the bench. I don't think they're necessarily trying to match us. I just think that a lot of the players who are starting from the Lions are the form players, bar maybe Henshaw, who I think, based on the Six Nation, was the form inside centre. Fully agree. Just look at how small is Artie Severe. Still don't rate him personally. I know who we're talking about. I think we're talking about Lawes. The reason why they use Kwaka is he's reducing Duhan in a defensive role. If you watch Duhan, he stands behind defense and reads the attack, and Kwaka was doing the same. Yeah, Kwaka's a very intelligent player. He's a very, very smart rugby player. He reads a lot. I mean, he used to do the same thing with the Lions, where when we didn't have him, we lost somebody who could read the game so well. Spirit, of course, is so underrated and lucky. You've got to feel sorry for him, don't you? Anthony Watson looks too slow to be an international level wing. Well, we'll see tomorrow if he get on Saturday if he gets some space ahead of him. Dwayne has COVID, doesn't he? I haven't heard that he's got COVID. He's obviously still recovering from his injury. I haven't heard that he's got COVID. That's not why he's not there. He is injured, so it's not like it's a COVID issue. It's his ankle that's buggered. I wish we could talk about the Springboks like that one day. At the end of the day, we won't ever, to that certain degree. We've got very good depth, but you're never going to have the same depth as being able to pick the best players from Four Nations. I'll go with Liam Williams. Oh, no, I've got scrolled down and lost a whole bunch. Didn't Whiteley get his career cut off? Yeah, he had, I think it was his knee. And he wanted to come back last year. He went to a specialist, but it's quite a sad story because he was saying that he's just in pain constantly, and they said, are you going to come back and play rugby? And he said all he wants to do right now is be able to play with his kids in the garden without, being in pain, which was fairly heartbreaking. He did in the World Cup. He did in the World Cup final. I just checked the World Cup final, and Lawes was playing at lock, and he came off in the 40th minute. So wasn't playing on the flank in the final. Look at the final. I just remember drinking a lot of brandy and sitting on the rat and parrot floor down in Grahamstown. So, Spirit, of course, he's an unused Springbok lethal weapon. I hope he gets some game time during the Rugby Championship. Yeah, I'm sure he will. Against France. Honestly, if Kolbe missed a tackle on Venom about 2 forward and 2 10 is there to back him up. But if Venom missed a tackle on Kolbe at 7 points to the box. Oh, yeah, 100%. Carry Underhill for Napola. Yeah. I was all surprised and happy Watson did not really impress me in the warm-ups. Look, he's not a. I mean, look, I wouldn't say he's a bad player at all. Is Anthony Watson? I mean, if you look at his career for England, he's got 51 appearances, over 110 points. That's a lot of points, by the way. That's what 22 tries in 51 games. So that's a very impressive record. I don't think he's got a test match try for the Lions just yet. Spirit Corsi better than Pimpy. I think it's 6-1 off, doesn't he? I think Corsi probably got a better all-round game, but Pimpy's finishing is devastating. Would Fassi fit in at 15 if LaRue got injured? I don't quite know what we'll do if Philly gets injured, because he's another one who's so important, from a game plan point of view in terms of the way he reads the game and stuff like that. It's not just exactly what they would what he brings in terms of how good is he under high ball. It's how well he reads the game. It's also very useful having him as a first receiver on the attack. Somebody with a bit of creativity, somebody who can chip a ball ahead or spot a bit of space and stuff like that. Pimpy is good because he has a strike rate of 14 matches and 14 tries. Yeah, he needs to score a try on Saturday to try and keep up that record. If Finn Russell was there, still Farrell wouldn't not even make match day 23. Yeah, I think he would struggle, to be honest. I think that they would have liked to have had Finn Russell on the bench. Cheslin says, I think Fassi will be the obvious choice at fullback for us, but it looks like in the box setup he has a different role as a winger. I think they'll play Jesse Creel. I don't think they'll play Jesse Creel at 15. Williamson goes to 15 if Billy's injured. Yeah, in this game, I don't think I'm starting, but I think, that's what... I mean, look, David is coming a lot of inside centre, so it'll be interesting. Jesse Creel should have been in the squad. Yeah, I haven't been particularly impressed by Jesse Creel. I think David Williams has made himself undroppable with what he's done when he's come on. Who do we have... who do we give the last kick of the game if it's 50 plus? Lions have daily kick 60 plus meters. Well, first of all, we're down at sea level. So it kind of nullifies that a little bit. So we're not going to have a 60 meter. You're not going to have somebody slotting 60 meter penalties on Saturday. Ed Daly can have a go. Look, Pollard's got a 50 meter kick on him if he needs to be. The problem is that I don't want to fit somebody like Franz Steyn in just for the sake of his boot. if he's not going to be able to bring anything else. You know, I know it's a very useful thing to have, but you know, was he impressive enough when he played against Georgia and stuff like that? Does he warrant being able to start and stuff like that? So yeah, it's a difficult one to play something purely because they might have a big boot and stuff like that. So I mean, I wasn't particularly impressed with France Day, so I can completely understand why he's not there. But yeah, so I mean, I think if you look at this British and Irish Lions side, I think that, you know, things that they could change potentially for next week is, I think obviously Josh Adams can come in maybe. Andy Price is an interesting call. I think if he struggles, I think he'll drop out quite quickly. I think that the loose trio is obviously quite a big competition there, and obviously Robbie Henschel needs to have quite a good game, otherwise he could be on the chopping block as well. So it should be quite an interesting encounter. I think Daly at 13 is quite make or break. You know, I think that Chris Harris is a very, very good defender. When they first I made a comment. I've lost my. Oh yeah. What was I talking about? I've lost my train of thought completely. I'm talking about Daly, Chris Harris. Nope, I've lost it. Completely lost it. Anyway, it's been a long day, people. It's been a horrendous day. I had to watch that crap Lions versus Griquas game. Then the stream buckled for Western Province versus Cheetahs. We haven't had water all day. I'm just having a terrible day at the moment. Do you think Fuss will be played in Rugby Championship? I personally think that this is a season for Billy, so I think he will. Yeah, I think we'll see a lot more players, and especially we've also got an outgoing tour, which would be nice, which we haven't had since 2018. So I think, you know, that outgoing tour is when we can hopefully see players like Similani getting a try. I mean, we've got Ireland, Scotland, and England. Do we have? Or was it Wales, Scotland, and England? I know we've also got England at Twickenham. I'm sad about the Dupree twins. Hope they'll be used in the Rugby Championship. You got a feel for Dan Dupree, didn't you? I mean, come here, got COVID, didn't manage to get a game, and now off you go. I did see Daly kick a 60-meter kick at sea level in the long-range kicking competition versus Geordie Barrett. Yeah, I mean, he might be able to. Look, I think it's also depends on the conditions, for example, and what the conditions are like underfoot. Just look at Jesse Creel's games in Japan Top League, but also, yes, Phillips has been showing himself. The problem is that, look, I mean, a lot of people sort of defend the Japanese league because there's a bunch of Fijians and Tongans and stuff running around there. But I just don't think it's the same as playing, you know, top 14 and, you know, Super Rugby and, you know, even Currie Cup to a certain degree. Maybe Currie Cup's sort of in a bit of a par. What are your thoughts on Ox? Because he is the least captain starting in prop, but he's a good player, though. I think Ox is in for a big test. I think this is going to be proper welcome to Test match rugby. You know, I think that scrummaging, unfortunately, is probably one of his weaker sides of his game. He's fantastic in the loose. But we've got quite a mobile pack. You know, Trevor Nyakane gets around. Bongi Manama gets around. Ox and Nche obviously gets around. So I think we'll be quite mobile in the starting. I think, you know, Stephen Kitsoff, Frans Maherbe are not the most mobile of players in comparison. Obviously, Malcolm Marx is much of a muchness, probably even more mobile than Bongi Manambi. I think Archie will be able to cause a few upsets in the Rugby Championship. I hope so. It'll be. I mean, it's always nice for the competition when it's nice and close. Day 13, there's a long range kicker and a second distributor. Keith Farrell out the team. Yeah, that's a nice thing with having dailies. You don't necessarily need to have Owen Farrell, but and that's why sort of they named him at centre, because I think they understood that he's not getting a look in at 15 or anywhere in that back three. There's just far too much quality. When you play at All Blacks, why are we playing All Blacks in the Championship twice in New Zealand? Oh, no, it's horrendous. We've got Argentina twice at home, and then we've got All Blacks away and Australia 2 games. We've got 4 games away. It's going to be a massive ask. They're again side travel restrictions and COVID and stuff like that. But jeepers, to go and try and you win 2 games in New Zealand, it's a bit of a write-off, isn't it? Kicking Cape Town Stadium is very tricky. There are these gusts of wind that will cause havoc with kicking at goal and up and unders. Yeah, I'm very keen to sort of see. I mean, we've got all the games on Cape Town Stadium, so they really can sort of go out and understand the conditions and get a feel for it, and know that will be exactly the case next week. So it will be quite an interesting kicking affair, and what I think will be quite interesting and worth noting is what we see on Saturday compared to what we will see next week. In terms of, do people maybe change the game plan? Do they kick more? Do they kick less? I mean, I see that Warren Gatlin was kind of sort of baiting the Springboks, saying that he reckons you're going to see sort of 40 kicks come from the Springboks on Saturday, which he could probably be right. there definitely will be a very big kicking segment of the game, which I think where Ali Price is going to be, I wouldn't say exposed, but there's one place which he might struggle. It could be with the kicking game. At the end of the day, he's not Conor Murray, who's got a much better kicking game. Very slow, and we've seen it, but we've got that. But the Blue Bulls beating SAS shows how many quotes. Dude, don't even start with that crap. I'm so over it. I mean, who was one of the worst performers? I mean, don't come with the quotas of the reason we lost against the Bulls. It's such a load of nonsense. It really is. Don't come on with that crap. Honestly, I don't need that here. I really don't. You know, I mean, which quota players in that SAA game? You know, which ones? Quinio says that conceded 2 scrum penalties, or was it Marco Verstappen where they ran past in the midfield when they scored that try? You know, which was those quota players? Don't come here with that crap on my channel, please. Come now. I really don't. I don't have any time for that whatsoever. There are no players in the squad who do not deserve to be there. Pick a player, and we can pull out a CV, and we'll see why they're there. Every single one of those players. It's so tiring to still have this conversation. I mean, what did I have? I had some stupid person saying, only when they stop doing the quotas will we see the Springboks come back. What do you mean see the Springboks come back? We're world freaking champions. Like, literally, what do you mean then we'll see the Springboks being back? Nah, it's just nonsense. It's so boring. You never know. You might try out new things like little kicks and grabbers. I hope so. But the question is, do we sort of do we keep that for later on in the series? I have to put him in timeout. Don't come here with that. If there's one thing, I encourage any debate, anything like that. Question a player's ability based on their ability. But if you start throwing around words like quotes and stuff like that, don't come here on this channel. I've got no time for that. Are we going to see SA versus Wales 2019 replay? Too much kicking. Yeah, I mean, Dan Bigger was saying that was one of the toughest games he's ever played, and he's really, really keen to sort of, you know, get back and sort of play against Nche Pollard as well. People are still talking about quota players 2021. Shocking. How much more must they do? Well, exactly. We literally won the World Cup. So what's the argument? You know, that, well, if we didn't have the quotas, we would have won the World Cup even more. That's just stupid. We're going to play Boks kick. Do you think Raymond Rula and Tristan Lay should have been called up? Raymond Rula is an interesting one. I mean, he's been playing fantastic rugby, and ironically, you know, for somebody who has had so many sort of defensive issues, as he's gone and settled and playing ridiculously good rugby at Rochelle, had outside centre. So look, I credit to him. I don't think he's a bad option to be able to bring back. You know, I think Tristan Lay as well is looking pretty good. I think there are other players I'd probably bring up before them. You know, I'd like to see him in Similani, for example, get more opportunity, just because he's one for the future. We're going to play Boks kick game. Yeah, I think Faf's been stretching out those hamstrings for a while. Remember, who can't defend and is too old. As you said, you know, if you go and watch his season, this, and I think that's the problem. You know, is you have a bad season, you kind of get labeled. But if you go and look at what he's doing at La Rochelle, he's been absolutely immense for them. So I think he's not a bad shot at all. He's been very, very important at La Rochelle. Would it make more sense for Alton to come on and Pollard 12 or Alton 10 and Williams at 12? I suppose it sort of depends on where we are at the game. You know, it'll be interesting to sort of see how they go with those substitutions, because it's a case of, you know, if we're chasing the game, then bringing on Alton and Damien's probably easier for. If you're chasing the game, you know, Damien and Alton at 10, 12, but you know, if you're trying to see a game out, then, you know, it's probably safer to maybe sort of bring Alton at 10 and Nche Pollard at 12, for example. I'm not quite sure which way they'll go. Tristan Lates, that player, looked like, I think he's referring to Dylan. Sorry, we're talking about Tristan Lates. Are you talking about Tristan or Dylan? Tristan Lates has played, what, like 2 games for the Western Province. So I'm definitely not bringing out Tristan Lates. He's a very skillful player, but as he said, I remember watching him at Varsity Shield, and at Varsity Shield he was skinny, hey? And I mean, this is talk. I mean, that's one below. That's one below Varsity Cup. So I would not be calling up Tristan. Dylan, I think, has been looking pretty good overseas for La Rochelle as well. You think John de Jong will get called up or Cock? I don't think either of them will get a call up. I don't. You know, we've released one to Sila Similani. So if we need an outside centre, those two will be the outside centres. If Werner Cock starts, the problem is Werner Cock, I don't think will ever have an extended time at outside centre to ever make a claim for the jersey, because he's not going to start outside for the Sharks ahead of Lakanya But I do think that's his best place. Maybe the Bulls are the only place where I can think of an outside centre. But I mean, then you got Stephen Hunt who's going to come back. Do we surprise the Lions like we surprised any in the final with little fancy players? Probably not in the first game at least. I think it's a bit too early for Tristan and his brother. Yeah. Ultimate do chips and grabber when he comes on. Pollard won't. Do you think Apple should have played more Springbok rugby? Yeah. I think that in a different time he probably would have. I think he was a victim of the it's just the South African mentality, and it's just a good thing South African women aren't as obsessed with size as South African men, or else there'd be a lot more single women in this country, because really, every single time it comes to any sort of rugby decision, it's all about size in South Africa. And I think it's just so. I mean, we've seen some massive players play really bad rugby, and we've seen some small players really outperform. So I think here Apelon was probably a bit of a victim for that. He's a very nice player. I can't see Pollard Larson, the whole AT will see Alton. Yeah, we'll see our entire bench this weekend. I don't see how we don't see our entire bench this weekend. I hope the players have lots of things to do, and the other K players can get bored in the same environment. Yeah, 100%. Do you think Rhino should be ahead of Yankees? Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think Rhino had a very good domestic season. But Herschel Yankees are very look. I think Herschel and Yankees and Alton Yankees would be quite a good combo. I think that they kind of sort of suit each other. But I don't think you get a lot worse. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I can kind of understand going with Herschel, but I would also understand going with Kolbe. Kolbe, I think, is a very good player to see off the game. Herschel's a nice game. We've almost got a bench to chase the game. So I almost wonder if there is a sort of a worry that we might sort of be down, and if we need to chase the game, then we can roll the dice and we can put on Damien Willemse, Alton Yankees, Herschel Yankees, just say run at them, just do something, try and create something. It's almost kind of how we're sort of setting up, So I wonder if they think that might be the case, that, when we sort of ran out of steam last try, if we are then suddenly chasing the game, we need a couple of those players to be able to come on and create something out of nothing. Clear Appleton was a victim of Heineken Mayer, 100%. Tristan weighs 68 kgs. I mean, he's almost half my weight. Not quite. What happened to Robert Dupree, the fly half? He's at Sale Sharks, the SA Academy over there. Not playing terrible rugby, I don't think. I don't know. I haven't watched much Sale Sharks, I'm going to be very honest. I'm pretty much going to call it there, to be honest. It's 9:30. I need to do a couple of prep and stuff like that for tomorrow. But if you want to check out, we've got the interview. We've got a press conference with Damien D'Alendi, which has just gone up now on the channel. And I can confirm that for the members, so tomorrow, for the members, we will be releasing our first ever Forever Sports podcast episode. And our guest for this week, in our first one, is Vincent Tutuka, the Lions star, scored against the British and Irish Lions. On the Springbok horizon, you can find out why what he sort of thinks about playing for the Springbok, stuff like that. It's a fantastic interview. I really had a great time chatting to him yesterday. So that is our first guest for the Forever Sports podcast. It'll be available tomorrow for members, and we'll be premiering it at 7:00 on Friday for everybody else. Whereas the Ulster interview will be out tomorrow morning. It was embargoed, so which means we can't release it today. So it'll be released tomorrow morning. And then so Friday will be the day that we'll then release our exclusive sort of podcast with Vincent Tutuka, which was a fantastic chat. I think if you want to sort of see somebody and the mentality, and you can kind of understand why he's had such a meteoric rise, just talking to him, you can kind of understand that. So really keen for you guys to see that. I had a great time yesterday, and looking forward to a lot more. We're trying to sort of get some more guests and trying to line up some more people and stuff like that. If there's anybody you would like us to try and contact and stuff like that, let me know. It's obviously very difficult, especially in these times, to try and get these things right, but we'll endeavor to do our best. John and Elsekin already out tomorrow. Yeah, I'm very keen for it. It looked like it was nice to see us bounce back a little bit. Hopefully we can make sort of less work of it tomorrow. Rob Dupree has been stinking it up at Sales Sharks. He lost his place to an American fly half. Second T20 World, second already out tomorrow. But yeah, I'm going to call it out there tomorrow. So yeah, tomorrow the Ulster interview will be out tomorrow morning. I've already got it uploaded. It's all scheduled and stuff like that. Damien D'Alendi is available now, so you can go watch that. So tomorrow we will see the Ulster interview. We're going to see some Olympic stuff tomorrow. We're going to be doing Meet Team SA. So we're going to be going through the entire Olympic team tomorrow on the channel, because we've got a bit of a break from rugby tomorrow. So we'll do a bit of Olympic stuff. The Olympics actually got underway today, but the opening ceremony and stuff is still to come. And then obviously tomorrow night, I'm going to be on the Rugby Guru's channel. We're doing that. He's pulled together some of the bigger rugby channels in the country, and we're going to be doing a combined preview of Springboks versus Wales tomorrow. So I'm going to try squeeze in the live stream before then. So I'll probably go live tomorrow at sort of 8:15 for a little bit, have a bit of a chat and stuff like that, and then I'll be on his channel from 9 o'clock if you guys want to come and hang out. So what I'm thinking tomorrow is I'm thinking that we come on and we do we'll do a stream from like 15:15 until like just before, and then we all go and raid that stream, and we can all go in with a word or something like that, or a phrase or something like that, and we can all go and check it out. So it's the Rugby Guru tomorrow, but come and hang on me tomorrow night, and then we'll all go and jump onto that stream, and I can hopefully bring some people over there. But just the final sort of comments, as Kwasi said, please do hit that like button. All surprised the last team in UK, nobody was selected the starting 15. Could be interesting. Get Courtney Lawes to join for a watch along for one of the tests. I'd love to. I'll try. If Alton come on for LaRue, Kolbe goes to 15, Am to 14, Pollard to 12, and Delendy on 13. Well, contender, we'll see you on Saturday if that comes true. To everybody, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. Please do stay safe. I'll see you guys all tomorrow night. And if you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. We're pattering close to 2,800 subscribers. So let's just see if we can kind of break through that barrier in the next couple of hours. Thank you very much, and chat to you guys soon.